we came to America, we were living in the east by the Nile River, living in luxury, enjoying freedom, justice, and equality. We wore silken robes and slippers of gold. We were the wealthiest and the wisest people, I'm told. Now we are the poorest of the poor. Nobody wants us at their door. So my friend, it's easy to tell, white man heaven is a black man hell.
It's easy to tell, white man heaven is a black man hell.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Master Farad Muhammad said 6 words to us, and these were the 6 most powerful words that he spoke. He said, accept your own and be yourself. Accept your own. The Caucasians who brought our fathers into slavery desired to take us away from our own people, our own culture, our own religion, our own God, our own language. So we have grown up in America away from our own mind, away from our own selves, and so we have been actually indoctrinated with an alien mentality.
10,000 fearless men. Because we're going to have to challenge the things that are destroying our community. So this ain't no punk time. This ain't no temple time, mosque time, or church time. All the singing and shouting and preaching is over. Get in them streets now. Block by block. We're going to have to clean it up. The airwaves is not enough. The television screen is not enough. You got to put boots on the ground who are trained and are willing to make the sacrifice of life itself to see our community made a decent place to live.
Soldiering is a part of the Nation of Islam, and it readies all of us to obey the commands of God. Now some will ask, well, why military drill? Because this is what produces the camaraderie.
Facebook and Instagram thought that they could ban the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
But in reality, they can't, because he already lives in us and millions of others.
قل أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
In the name of Allah, the one true and living God, to whom praise is due forever. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is his messenger. Peace, family, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of WHID-FM. WHID-FM is your personal platform for those of us striving to follow the life-giving and life-saving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, as given to us by his premier pupil, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, gathered right here in this virtual meeting place to answer that most critical question: what has Islam done for me? It is Sunday, October 1st, Season 8, Episode 7. Once again, thank you for tuning in, family. And as you might have noticed, our usual co-host, Sister Janine, won't be joining us tonight, so I will lead us in reading Brother David's bio. And speaking of Brother David, he will be our guest for tonight, and he will have a great topic of course, the number 19. Praise be to Allah. So, Brother David is the Assistant Student Minister to Student Regional Minister Abdul Sharif Muhammad in Atlanta, Georgia. He is married to his lovely wife, Sister Aliyah Muhammad. He is a dedicated high school teacher, husband, father, researcher, and minister. He is a student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And since 2010, he has studied and analyzed the Meccan and Medinan chapters of the Holy Quran in connection with the history of the Nation of Islam. In March of 2021, he began to analyze the mathematical arrangement of the scriptures, beginning with the Holy Quran in connection with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and the history of the Nation of Islam. So we'd like to welcome our guest for tonight, Brother David. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Praise be to Allah. It's great to have you on once again.
Oh, it's my pleasure and honor being on. Thank you for having me, sir.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And I believe you have a presentation for us.
Yes, I would like to share a few things. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness to the oneness of God and His presence among us. I bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is that Georgia-born Black man raised up from among the descendants of slaves in America. And I bear witness that he is the exalted Christ. He is physically alive and empowered. And the witness to his exalted position with God is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the anointed Messiah in our midst today. I thank Allah for them. I thank Allah for this process of salvation that Almighty God in person has initiated. And certainly coming up out of the city of Atlanta, I always give a shout out to my student regional minister, Minister Abdul Sharif Muhammad, whom I assist in Atlanta, and it's my honor and pleasure to work on his behalf. I would like to share a few things with the listening and viewing audience concerning the mathematical arrangement of the Holy Quran and Bible. Both books are tied to the same mathematical system that is based on the number 19. The number 19 is used as the basis of this mathematical system. And this mathematical system creates a calendar system, a system of dates, dates that directly relate to the fulfillment of prophecy. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad spoke to us about the theology of time. Theology of time, that's a very profound topic that we should still be studying and parsing the depths of. He also phrased it the secret of time. In that 22-week lecture series by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, he connected the development of mathematics to Allah's own self-creation, his own beginning. And he said that Allah built himself up from 10,000 parts and became one, Wahid, one. And so one, the oneness of Allah This is our fundamental belief that Allah is one, and he continued to evolve. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us and mentioned to us that evolution from number 1 on into the number 9. 6 became a very fundamental number in terms of the original man and the calculation of time. And that same number, as we're taught, is the basis of the time that was given to the made man, the man of 6. I just mention these things because our understanding of mathematics has to grow and evolve, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that mathematics is Islam, and Islam is mathematics. It is found in our Supreme Wisdom Lessons of the Nation of Islam. He mentioned it during the Theology of Time lecture series. And so mathematics is also tied to the calculation of time. We're taught about the making of history every 25,000 years. The writing of history in advance every 25,000 years is written based upon the measurements of the planet Earth, 24,896 miles, approximately 25,000. So the measurement of the Earth corresponds with the circumference, corresponds with the calculation and the writing of history. So this equals 1 year equals 1 mile. So here we have the measurement of distance on the Earth equaling time and the calculation of time. This is very important because these scientists who write history, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was revealed this history, this reality from and by Allah God in person. And so we have this insight into the workings of these angels of God, the inner circle of God that is referred to in the Holy Quran as we and us, that are connected to the oneness of Allah. In the Bible, they are also referred to as the exalted, not the exalted assembly, but the elders, the 24 elders. In the Holy Quran, again, they're called the exalted chiefs and the exalted assembly. So these wise scientists calculate the future history of our people based on the measurement of the Earth. So this is also connected to the theology of time. Theo is God. Ology, the study of God. So at the root of time and its calculation is mathematics. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said that prophecy is mathematical. So when we study the scriptures that these wise scientists authored and wrote down, we're studying something that was at its very foundation mathematical, okay? So I say that as an intro in this discussion concerning the mathematical arrangement of the Holy Quran and Bible, which both books are tied together based on what was seen that would occur on this earth at this time, within this space of time of 6,000 years, with a focus on the last 6,000, the last years or the end of this 6,000 year period that was given to the enemy to rule. Now, after saying that, this month, the month of September, is a very special month in the history of the Nation of Islam. And as we, this is of course the first day of October, and we've just concluded a month that is filled with very historical anniversaries, if you will, in our history, all of which were the fulfillment of prophecy. In fact, all of the major events in the history of the Nation of Islam that occurred in September have a very major role in the fulfillment of prophecy. One of those events was the meeting between Master Father Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that occurred on September 22nd, 1931. Then, of course, in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we were also taught that Jesus himself, this is the prophet Jesus, he was born between the first and second week of September. But then there's another event that took place that has a very important role in the fulfillment of prophecy, more than many might know. And that is the more than a vision experience of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that occurred on September 17th in the year 1985. This experience, from the vantage point of the authors of the Bible and the Holy Quran, the authors of prophecy, is of tremendous importance. And it is an experience in the life of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that has guided the Nation of Islam and guided really the fulfillment of prophecy up until this very moment in time. And it is an experience that guides us through the fall of America and the closing out of this world. It is a tremendous experience. And so I just like to share just a few points from the Bible and the Holy Quran, demonstrating, because one thing I observed as I took time analyzing the mathematical arrangement of the Bible and the Holy Quran, which of course is an ongoing process. And I always speak as a student that does not have perfect knowledge of anything that I'm saying, but this is what I'm sharing based on my limited observation, okay? And so I've noticed that, and I've, in studying the subject, there are many, many examples on how the year 1985 and sometimes the exact date, the full date, September 17th, 1985, emerges in the arrangement of the Holy Quran and Bible. I would like to start with just a few examples from the Bible, and then we'll move to the Holy Quran. So for the sake of time, let me go ahead and share my screen here.
Yes, sir.
And we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. Okay, and Brother Wesley, if there's anything that's not seen, just can just be my eyes for me and let me know. Let's see.
Yes, sir. I think you can see everything from slide 72.
Yeah, yes, sir. We're not going to go through all the slides, but I just want to pick up and highlight some key points here, okay?
Okay, got it.
Let me see. I need to, part of it is not visible on my end, so let me see. Just a second. Okay, here we go. Let's discuss the experience of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. And we say first that is more than a vision experience, because the Honorable Minister Farrakhan used the language vision And it also is more than a vision, because we truly believe that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan visited the wheel on that night from Mexico to Post Line and was transported to the mother's wheel, where he met with, heard the voice of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, one thing that we've found is that that date, September 17th, that's the 9th month, the 17th day. 917 is one of the mathematical codes of the Holy Quran and Bible. The number 19 is the primary code based on the arrangement, the mathematical arrangement of the Bible and the Quran. Up like a subcode to this primary code is the numbers 917 as well as 319. We may discuss that more at another time. We've mentioned some of that on previous broadcasts. But let's take a look at 917, which is a core part of the date 9/17/85, which stands for September 17th, 1985. Looking at it from the Bible's standpoint, looking at the word vision, the word vision occurs for the first time in the New Testament in Matthew, the 17th chapter, the 9th verse. Okay? But the last time the word vision is used in the King James Version of the Bible is in the 9th Revelation, the 9th chapter, the 17th verse. Very interesting, right? We see the emphasis or the use rather of the same numbers, 917, just in different ways. So the last time the word vision, well, why is this important? Because the minister's vision-like experience took place on 9/17. Well, let's go further with this. Now, the first occurrence of the word vision I mentioned was Matthew 17:9. Matthew 17 is the first description in the New Testament of the transfiguration of Jesus. Now, if you're not familiar with this, I encourage everyone to read the 17th chapter of Matthew. This is where Jesus went on top of a mountain, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan went, and he climbed that mountain in Mexico on several occasions, as he has described to us. But in his experience, he was climbing that mountain with a few friends of his, as he stated. And once he reached the top of the mountain, then that's when the wheel appeared, and he was called to enter the wheel. In this transfiguration experience, Jesus goes to the top of the mountain with a few of his disciples. And once he reaches towards the top of the mountain, a cloud comes over the top of the mountain. And Elijah was in the cloud. Think about that now. Elijah was in the cloud. Now, mind you, Old Testament, Elijah never died. Elijah was seen going up into heaven in a fiery chariot. No, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad stated, there's no death recorded for Elijah. Now, all of a sudden, we have Elijah in the cloud that's over the mountain, and then a voice comes from the cloud talking to Jesus. This is my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased.
Come on, brother.
So we have a confirmation from above as to who this man is, Jesus. And the confirmation is coming directly from Elijah. And so in the book of Luke, also, there's 3 different tellings of this story. The next time you have in the 9th chapter of the book of Luke, you also have it in the 9th chapter of the book of Mark, okay? In the book of Luke, it gives a little more descriptive detail on how Jesus, it says, entered into the cloud. And it even, in all these places, describe the cloud as being a bright cloud. Well, I don't recall seeing a bright cloud. I don't know if you've seen a bright cloud, but if it's bright, that lets us know that there's something in the cloud that has the ability to illuminate itself, okay? So, and Elijah was in whatever object that was. Maybe it's that same object that Ezekiel saw, that wheel within a wheel. Or maybe it's the same thing that God was in, that was above the children of Israel in the Old Testament, described as a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. It's interesting, while we talk about this subject, when you study the word clouds in the Holy Quran, all references to the word clouds, the Arabic words translated as clouds, up until the 52nd chapter of the Holy Quran, which is titled The Mountain. Go and look at the 52nd chapter, the 44th verse. It's a reference to how the disbelievers would look up and they would see something in the sky and they would say, oh, whoa, piled up clouds. That's the words attributed to them. Okay? Piled up clouds. Well, why would that be shocking? They would see something in the sky and they would refer to it as piled up clouds. Well, all of the references, the sum of the chapter numbers and the verses where that word clouds is used up until, from the beginning of the Holy Quran up until that specific verse, that's 52:44, the sum is 917. Okay, 917 again. Now 917 in connection to clouds. Okay, let's go back to Jesus in this cloud at the top of the mountain. Now, mind you, chapter 52 of the Holy Quran is titled The Mountain, okay? And it opens up talking about, it references to revelation being received on top of a mountain. Look at all these connections. Allah says in the Holy Quran, we've made many connections for your sake so that you may be mindful. See, and these connections are mathematical in nature and otherwise. Now, Jesus is on top of the mountain. He goes into the cloud. He meets with Elijah. Then he comes back down. He tells his disciples, don't tell anyone, right? And so, but look at all the references to this experience. And by the way, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan says transfiguration means that they began to see the presence of God come across his person and personality. The minister said those words in the one lecture, Final Call, God with Us, in 1997. Now, all the references to this transfiguration experience is in the 9th chapters and the 17th chapter. You see, 9:17 again. We gave an example on how vision revolves around the same numbers, 9:17. And it just so happens that when we actually count the verses into the Bible, when we get to the 1985th verse of the Bible, it's in chapter 17. All of these things just coincidences? No, because there's hundreds and hundreds of examples of this. We just want to give a few to let you know that there's a lot more to this. And what we're getting at is a whole hidden calendar that is there in the scriptures, giving us the exact dates of when prophecy will be fulfilled. Now, you know, September 17th is given, is actually mentioned in the first verse of Ezekiel, the 8th chapter. It actually gives the date when Ezekiel saw the visions of these wheels within a wheel. And the date is given in that 8th chapter of September 17th. Okay.
Wow.
And just Brother Wesley, just let me know how we're doing on time, because
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
But David, keep it going, man. You got me fired up. Go ahead.
All praise is due to Allah. One thing that this helps us to feel is a greater sense of conviction, to know that everything that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said to us is actually the fulfillment of prophecy. The minister, he didn't know that he was going to fulfill prophecy. I mean, just think of the minister on 9/16, right? He didn't know what was going to happen the next night, and how the role that what was going to take place on that night of majesty, okay? The role that it was going to play in the fulfillment of prophecy. The minister is just moved by the Spirit of God, moved by the love that Almighty God designed him to have in his heart for Allah, for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and for us as a people. But Allah has guided him to fulfill so much prophecy up until this moment, and he will continue to fulfill it with the help and guidance of Allah. Let's go on. Let's see here. Next slide. Okay, so now let's go back to the Holy Quran. Now, let me explain what you see here. Now, the number 19 is only, the word 19 is only mentioned one time in the Holy Quran. It's the Holy Quran is, we see it's designed based on consistent multiples of 19, but that's based on the count of things, okay? But the actual word 19 is only used once. That is in the 74th chapter of the Holy Quran, the 30th verse, or ayat. So 74:30, you have the mention of the number 19, the word 19. And in the next verse, 74:31 explains the number 19, 57 Arabic words explaining the number 19. Okay. Now, 19 times 74 equals 1406. Well, that may not mean anything to us on the surface. But one thing I found is that this calendar system that is created based on the mathematical arrangement of the Holy Quran and Bible, especially the Holy Quran though, it goes in and out of two major calendar systems. The calendar system, that's the basis of the Christian world, which is the Gregorian calendar, and the calendar system that is used in the Islamic world, which is the Hijra calendar. Hijra meaning flight. It is the calendar that began in 622, and it began with Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, his escape from the death plot of the Meccan leadership that were plotting to take his life. And he fled himself, of course, and the believers to Medina. Well, that began a calendar system, the Hijra calendar. Well, this year, 1406, is the beginning of a new Islamic year. That in 1406, now when I say beginning Islamic year, let me be more specific. September 1406 AH, after Hijra, is an Islamic year that began in September 1985. Okay? September 1985, it began around a day before the minister's experience, where he was taken to the wheel to speak with, meet with, hear from the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now, this number, which is a year, comes up all throughout the arrangement of the Holy Quran, especially. And here we see it tied to the revelation of the number 19, which is at the key, is the key to this whole mathematical system based on the number 19. So from the very beginning, we see there is a connection between the number 19 and the minister's experience on the wheel. Okay, so 1406, this begins once again in September 1985. Now, we said that that year, the year of the minister's experience, it comes up quite often in the arrangement of the Holy Quran and Bible. In the Holy Quran, it's all of the references to the vision or the night journey of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, as well as the references to Joseph's vision, which is in Surah or chapter 12 of the Holy Quran. These experiences, the night journey of Prophet Muhammad and the vision of Joseph, and where they are mathematically placed in the Holy Quran, connects directly to the year of the minister's experience on the wheel in 1985. And it is also tied to the revelation of the Holy Quran itself. Now, I know this is a weighty point here, okay? So let's look at 2:185. Surah 2, verse 185 is the only mention of the revelation of the Holy Quran, specifically in the holy month of Ramadan in the Holy Quran, 2:185, okay? You already see that 85 in there from the beginning, right? So when we look at the distance in terms of verses, okay, from chapter 2, verse 185, and let's look at Joseph's vision. Now, if you start from the first verse, and because you go through and you've measured and I've analyzed these verses, the first verse in chapter 12, you come to around 1405, which 1405 ends in September 1985. And then when you read verses 1 through 6, okay, it's describing, and I have it at the end of the slide here. Surah 12 opens saying that Joseph's narrative is the best of narratives. That's very profound. That should be studied. Why is Joseph's narrative considered the best of narratives? Okay. And there's a reference, of course, to the revelation of the Holy Quran. We're talking about chapter 12 of the Holy Quran, which is titled Joseph. The whole chapter is dedicated to the history of Joseph. When we continue to read, then we find in the fourth ayat of verse, we have where Joseph is telling his father about his experience, what he was shown. And he says, "Oh, my father, I saw 11 stars and the sun and the moon making obeisance to me." He's shown something about his future. And his father warns him about telling his experience because he already knows the envy that existed among his own brothers. There's so many lessons in this history for us. But then in the sixth verse, we have where Joseph is, Allah is describing Joseph as being chosen and how he will be given, among other things, the interpretation of sayings. And so this is really the beginning of Joseph's, is really like his commission. And his vision is really, and his experience described here in these first 6 verses, really is at the core of his whole history. And we have his whole history given in the whole chapter, and then it's fulfilled towards the end of that chapter in terms of, because his vision also involved his ascension into power. Okay, all of this is very profound. What does it mean that the sun and the moon, 11 stars making obeisance to him? Very, very heavy spiritual meaning here, okay? Now, so we have chapter 12, verse 6. We've gone through 1 through 6. Well, when we look at 1, 2, and 6, and we reverse it, we get 6, 2, 1. Now, that's why it's important for us to study history, because these numbers, we would not pick up the connections with these numbers, because if we did not know history. 621 is actually a year. That's the year of the night journey experience of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. So follow this now. You have the vision of Joseph here connected mathematically with the night journey experience of Prophet Muhammad, connected also with the night of the revelation of the Holy Quran, because it's believed that one of those nights, particularly one of the last 10 nights in the month of Ramadan, the Holy Quran was revealed. This is not the only time that the minister's experience is connected to the night journey of Prophet Muhammad and the revelation of the Holy Quran during the holy month of Ramadan in the mathematical arrangement of the Holy Quran and Bible. Okay. So, how we looking on time, Brother Wesley?
You're doing great. I think we can go until 7:45.
Okay, 7:45?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let's go to the next slide here. Thank you. Now, Surah 17 of the Holy Quran. Surah 17 of the Holy Quran contains 2 references to the night journey or mirage experience of Prophet Muhammad. Peace and blessing of Allah be upon him. That's in 17:1 and 17:60. It's interesting. Well, I'll say the on a future slide here. But this slide, when you the exact verse in chapter 12 that refers to the vision of Joseph in chapter 12 is 12:4. The number of ayats or verses from chapter 12:4 and really the major reference in the Holy Quran to the night journey of Prophet Muhammad is exactly 430 ayats or verses. Now, this is one thing that's key with this, and that is key in terms of recognizing or calculating time and how it is recorded. Time, years are recorded in the arrangement of the Holy Quran and Bible. Is one, knowing what year marked the end of the time given to the Caucasian people to rule, the enemy to rule. That year was revealed to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that was 1914. Another year that is absolutely key in calculating time is knowing when we were first brought to America, okay, as Black people, as slaves. That year was revealed to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as 1555. This lets us know, this is what we use as the basis of knowing how long. We're not counting from 1619. We're counting from 1555 that was revealed to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And that gives us 1985 as the 430th year of our sojourn. It's interesting that the Bible gives the year 430 as the time of the children of Israel coming out of bondage in Egypt. Go read the book of Exodus. Okay, so this 430 gives us a reference to the year 1985, based on how long we have been in bondage in America. Now, our enslavement is really the background of the fulfillment of all the prophecies in the Bible and the Holy Quran. So when you look at the Holy Quran's revelation begins in the first 5 verses of the 96th chapter of the Holy Quran, the clock. 961, 962, 963, 964, 965. These first 5 ayats, beginning with the command to read, in the name of thy Lord who creates. See, these are agreed upon as the first revelation to be received by Prophet Muhammad. Now, 961 is also a year. 961, 962 AH corresponds with, and this is 961 AH, 962 AH after Hijrah in the Islamic calendar. It corresponds with the year 1554, 1555, and then when we go to the 5th verse, it corresponds with the year 1558, which also plays a big key part in the mathematical arrangement of the Holy Quran, because 1558 happens to be the sum total of all of the verse 19s in the Holy Quran. You add all of the verse 19s together, you get 1558. What am I saying? I'm saying that mathematically, the beginning years of our enslavement in America play a prominent role in the mathematical arrangement. So also it plays a key role in terms of calculating time. And here, going back to 430, you have the 430th year being the year of the minister's experience on the wheel, okay? So I just wanted to take some time to give you some of the background of how time is calculated in this way, and how our enslavement as Black people in America, because, is key to this calculation, because mind you, Moses is the most mentioned man in the Holy Quran. The history of the children of Israel is recited over and over again in the Holy Quran. And the fulfillment of all the prophecies, when you talk about a man like unto Moses, or the Jesus figure, the Messiah, all of this is focused on the redemption and resurrection of an enslaved population of people. Okay? And so that's why our enslavement is there, and it plays a prominent role, because we're the focus of this whole process of salvation that God would initiate in person upon his coming. So it's 7:45 there. And so I'll stop there, because I know time can get past us as we discuss these things. Go right ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, we thank you for your wonderful presentation and giving us that backstory, which is wonderful. So with that, I'll go into our station ID. You are listening to WHID-FM. Thank you for tuning in and spending your valuable time. Without you, there is no WHID-FM. If you have any suggestions, please email us at WHID1919@gmail.com. And also, please subscribe to WHID-FM on Facebook and follow WHID-FM on YouTube. Next week, our guests will be, inshallah, two mighty men in the FOI from Muhammad Mosque number 24 out of Richmond, Virginia. They are both warriors, and they are Brother Malcolm Muhammad and Brother Willie 2X. That'll be October 8th, Season 8, Episode 9. So, Brother David, I wanted to ask you a few questions from the chat before I went into my own batch of questions. And we have some from our brother Jason X out of Atlanta. And he wants to first ask you when you first joined the nation and what inspires you to keep going in the midst of opposition.
Well, I first joined the Nation of Islam on June 5th, 1996, while I was in high school. And one thing that struck me when I came into the Nation of Islam is seeing the connection between the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad with what I was, with what is written in the Bible. Once I saw that the words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the works of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan, and certainly just without reading anything, hearing and looking and listening to the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan, I knew God is in this man, right? So I was affected by the presence of God in the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. And so one thing, when my father, he's a Christian pastor, and so seeing a connection with the Nation of Islam in the Bible was key for me. And so when I learned, places in the Bible where Jesus is describing the coming of the Comforter after him and things like that, it shocked me, but it helped to convict me. It helped to make me know that the decision I made to join the Nation of Islam was the best decision for me to make. And that was just in the beginning. And so I've always went to the scriptures and loved to study and tried to find every word that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad ever spoke. I'm trying to search it out, find it, study it, the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan's words. And I've always found refuge in the study of the teachings as my place of refuge. So whenever I was tried, we tried in day one, as soon as we say we believe. But whenever I was tried, I always found refuge in the Word of God. And that has been my place and is my place of peace and comfort, not focusing on people. Trying experiences that many times comes up in connection with, our interaction with people, and that type of thing. We tried in many different ways. But if we focus on our personal relationship with Allah God and focus on what he has revealed and nurse it, feed on it, then the more we're tried, what I've tried to do is the harder the trial, the more I turn into the Word. And as things escalate, then I go back into the Word deeper. And so, seek refuge in Allah in prayer. And every time I do that, striving to grow in all humility, because Allah can't grow us and Allah can't teach us if we don't have humility. So we have to get ourselves out of the way so Allah can feed us what he desires to feed us. But if we have too big an ego and we're too full of ourselves and our own pride, then Allah can't, fill a cup that's already full. So we come to Allah empty. We come to Allah ready to receive. And that's what helps to keep me going. looking at and listening to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, his words, his actions, his sacrifice, studying his life, the life of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and studying the revelation of the scriptures, the revelation of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, all of that is given to us as inspiration. And so that's how I would answer that question. Thank you for that question.
Yes, sir. And next, Brother Jason says he has a few of your books, and they are very informative as well as empowering on the study of the number 19 and the history of the Nation of Islam. But he wants to know when he can expect the next book.
The next book. Well, I write just about every day because this is an ongoing daily study for me. There's a lot more that I have written, but at this very moment, because it's such an ongoing process, I don't see things the way I did when it all began. And so I'm just writing, and inshallah, if Allah pleases, I will write another book. But so no plans on a release date at this time.
Yes, sir. Praise you to Allah.
Thank you for your support, though, Brother Jason.
And I wanted to ask you if you are familiar with the works of Dr. Rashad Khalifa.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I wasn't. I was not. But in March of 2021, like I wrote about in my first book, me and my wife were having a conversation, and just about different things as we talked. And somehow the subject of numbers in different languages came up. And I just looked up on my phone. I was looking at different numbers as they appear in like Urdu and Arabic. And I noticed that there was a similarity with the number 19. And so something struck me with that. And so I don't know, you know how things happen and you don't know, well, why did it make you do that? Well, I don't know. But it led me to reflect on research that I had already done based on the Meccan and Medinan chapters of the Holy Quran. So the thought was given to me, and maybe there's a connection between the number 19 and what I found in my study, really a comparison between the contents of the Meccan chapters of the Holy Quran and the contents of the Medinan chapters of the Holy Quran, comparing it to before and after 1975 in the history of the Nation of Islam. And I documented many things, amazing findings by the grace of Allah, and amazing connections. But it wasn't a study of the mathematical arrangement, although I did notice some very interesting things in the chapter 19 of the Holy Quran around the history of Jesus, which I noted. But I wasn't studying the mathematical arrangement at that time. But going back, March 2021, I start this journey and I go back and I reread, because I've read all of the books that I've been able to get of Mother Tanetta Muhammad. May Allah forever be pleased with her. I always strive to read her articles. But now this inspired me to go back and search. And I'm searching through her articles. And for the first time, I started reading Rashad Khalifa's works, his writings, the writings of some of his students. And so I had never read of Rashad Khalifa, who Mother Tanetta met with, I believe in the year 1980. And she shared with him things from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he shared things with her because he discovered the 19 code of the Holy Quran using computer technology in the year 1974. And so they meet, and that was a divine connection there. And so this helped to lead to the series of articles written by our beloved mother, Mother Tanetta Muhammad, unveiling the number 19 in the Final Call newspaper, okay? And all of the, of course, she was the one emphasizing the study of the number 19 in connection to scripture and the events and things of that nature. And so now I'm reading Rashad Khalifa's writings and some of his students, and they're highlighting certain things. I'm familiar with certain things that Mother Tanetta highlighted. And so now I'm finding things, and then I start exploring the Holy Quran and studying it in a different way now. Because now, after years of studying the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as a student, and being familiar with listening to the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan and explain certain prophecies, now already familiar with the connection between certain prophecies and certain events in the history of the Nation of Islam, based on what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the minister have taught us. Now I'm studying the mathematical arrangement of these placements. And so one of the first observations that helped to open my eyes to this amazing mathematical system that is in the Holy Quran is studying the connection between Adam and Jesus in the Holy Quran. And what helped to lead me to that was things that were already found by Rashad Khalifa and others who have been influenced by his research. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And speaking of Mother Tanetta, were you ever able to, I would say, talk to her or maybe speak with her about your studies about the number 19? And if not, can you share what you asked and talked to her about the number and maybe even otherwise?
No, I've been in Mother Tanetta's presence on several occasions by the grace of Allah. Different occasions. One time that I really enjoy being with her and others is during the Savior's Day presentation concerning the UFOs, really the pictures and videotapes that were done by Carlos Diaz in Mexico, who documented sightings of the wheels in the very same place in Mexico, Tepoztlan, where the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had his More Than a Vision experience, September 17th, 1985. And I was able to meet Carlos Diaz, his wife, Mother Tanetta, and others who were there. And I didn't go to other workshops. I stayed in that same workshop. And I was just so happy to be in her presence and the presence of the guests who were presenting, that I just stayed there. I've never had a personal one-on-one conversation with Mother Tanetta. And at the time when I was blessed to be in her presence, I was a student of her articles, as I am now, in her writings and lectures, but I had not learned yet about what I've learned in recent years since March of 2021 concerning the mathematical arrangement of the Holy Quran and Bible. Okay.
Yes, sir. And I was actually just about to ask you about the wheels. Do you think that the number 19 connects to the wheels or the mother plan? I know Student Minister Wesley gave us a great lecture last week concerning them, but I was wondering if the number 19 specifically has any connection to them.
Yes. Yes, a very, very, very big connection. See, the activity of the wheels. Let's look at major sightings of the wheels. Major sightings of the wheels correspond with the arrangement, the mathematical arrangement of the Holy Quran and Bible, okay? We've already highlighted the experience of the Honorable Mrs. Farrakhan that took place on the wheel. So the date of his experience is all weaved, the date of it is weaved all throughout the mathematical arrangement of the Holy Quran and Bible, okay? We made reference to the 52nd chapter of the Holy Quran, titled The Mountain. Many references to the wheels in symbolic language as clouds and other language all throughout that particular chapter. Now, what I didn't say earlier, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan was 52 years old when he had his experience on the wheel. So here you have another connection, right? There's a connection between this, the number 19 and 52. It's like cycles, it's a connection. It's an interesting study throughout our history. But let's look at 1952, a year that emerges all throughout the arrangement of the scriptures. We have references to servant of God being called to from the side of a mountain. Interesting. July, I believe it was July 19th, 1952, we have the sightings of the wheels over Washington, D.C. It happened on the 19th. You see? So 19 comes up in the dates, and the actual events are tied to the arrangement of scripture. But understand, the arrangement of scripture was based on what was seen happening in the history. So there's really no separation between the actual events and the scripture itself, because the scripture is designed around the events, but it was designed around the events before they even happened. Okay? So 97. See, the 97th surah of the Holy Quran, the Night of Majesty, describes the angels ascending and descending, you know, for every affair. 1997 is the year of the Phoenix Lights. The Phoenix Lights, one of the largest sightings of the wheels and wheel. The Honorable Mrs. Farrakhan said the wheel came down over Phoenix, Arizona. And it was videotaped by many. The governor mocked it, but later came out and said he saw it. See, in the city in Phoenix that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad chose as a home, to have a home there in Phoenix, Arizona. So all of these things, and there's much more to this, but this is, the wheel plays a very has a very important connection to the number 19 in the arrangement of the scriptures. Let's go to the Bible a little bit here. Sure. If I have just a minute with this. Okay, looking at the Bible, for the first time, really, we're able to learn that the mathematical center of the Bible is in the 19th chapter of the Bible, which is the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms, the 19th chapter of the Bible, 19th book of the Bible, pardon me, is the mathematical center of the Bible. You say, what does that mean? In the book of Psalms, let me start here. Psalms 117 is the middle chapter of the Bible. Psalm 117. Psalm 117 has 2 verses. So we have verse 1, verse 2. Now, verse 1, now mind you, there's This is the 595th chapter of the Bible. 595. If you're at home, write down the number 595. Before 595, you have 594 chapters preceding it and 594 chapters after it, going to Revelation. So 594 going to Genesis, 594 going towards counting chapters going towards Revelation. So in the center, you have the 595th chapter, which is chapter 117. Now, verse 1, I said they only have 2 verses in this chapter. This is also because this is also the shortest chapter in the entire Bible. Mind you, the shortest chapter in the Bible is in the book of Psalms. Longest chapter in the Bible is in the book of Psalms. The middle verses of the Bible is in the book of Psalms. All of these major key notations in terms of the mathematical arrangement of the entire Bible all line up there in the book of Psalms. That can't be a coincidence. Someone designed the Bible like that. Now think about this now. Chapter 117, the first verse is 1929. That's 1,929 verses into the book of Psalms. 1929. Okay, so if you're at home, write down 1929, write down 595. All of this is in connection with the middle chapter, the exact middle chapter in the Bible. Why are these figures connected? 595, 1929, at the very core heart of the Bible. 595, well, 5 plus 9 plus 5, that's 19. And we're in the 19th book of the Bible. Now, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan is verified and he is taught in his teachings to us on the wheel. Let us know that Ezekiel, in his visions of the wheel within a wheel, that took place in 595 BC. The visions of the wheel. Then 1929. Why is that important? 1929, according to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, was the actual year that the wheel took flight. The wheel took flight in 1929. So here, put this together, 595 BC, Ezekiel has a vision of the wheel before the wheel became a manifest reality. The minister said it was already reality when, in terms of his vision of it, because it was destined to come about, but it was not constructed yet. But when did the wheel actually take flight? It took flight in 1929. So 595 is vision of the future. 1929 is the fulfillment of what was seen. See, 1929 was the fulfillment of what Ezekiel saw in his vision, looking up, oh wheel, seeing a wheel in the midst of the wheel. Now lay it over the entire Bible. At the core of the Bible, you have the mathematical coding of the year when Ezekiel saw his vision and when the year when the mother wheel took flight in the 19th book of the Bible. Also, when you study those chapters around this, chapter 116, Psalm 116, Psalm 117, Psalm 118, particularly Psalm 118. Psalm 119 is the longest chapter in the entire Bible. Psalm, we already made note of certain key characteristics of Psalm 117. In between the longest and the shortest chapters of the Bible is Psalm 118. What is the focus of Psalm 118? It's describing a man that would be just surrounded by his enemies. And he repeats 3 times how his enemies, the nations of the earth, surrounded him. And he says 3 times, I will destroy them, will not die. So here you have a man that would be threatened with death, surrounded by his enemies, but he would be given power from Allah, God, to even destroy his enemies. And he makes clear that he's not going to die. He said, and if you read that, he talked about how his Lord has chastened him much, but has not lent him over unto death. This is describing the Messiah who would escape death. This is the same thing described in chapter 4, verse 157, 158 of the Holy Quran, on how Jesus was made to appear as though he was dead, and Allah raised him to himself. See, this subject right here, and you see, it's directly connected to the will. Directly connected to the will. The arrangement of the Bible imagine like the Bible, like that wheel. And in the middle of that wheel is that 19th book of the Bible, in the book of Psalms, where you have the mathematical coding of when the wheel would take flight. 1929 was 19 years since Master Farad Muhammad first entered North America in 1910. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he first entered North America in 1910. 19 years later, the wheel took flight in 1929. So you see here, 1929, that's Psalms 117:1, 1929 verses into the book of Psalms, the 19th chapter. You see how the history of the Nation of Islam is at the very core of the arrangement, the mathematical arrangement of the Holy Quran and Bible. Over and over and over again, these years are given, bearing witness to the birth of Master Farad Muhammad, the coming of Master Farad Muhammad, the birth of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the work of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the birth and work of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the will in every aspect of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The mathematical arrangement of the scriptures bears witness to it as being 100% actual facts. So this gets me fired up the more I talk on it, Brother Wesley and Brother Donald, but this is amazing. Our ancestors saw all of these things taking place thousands of years ago. It was our people that wrote this down. As Surah 54, verses 52 and 53 says, everything small and great was written down. Everything. And so all we have to do in studying it and analyzing, we're studying and analyzing calculations that they already did. They already calculated this time period, and they calculated it and put it in the books that we have in our homes. But do we really know what we have in our homes in the form of the Bible and the Holy Quran? Do we really know what we have? Do we really know what we have in the Supreme Wisdom lessons of the Nation of Islam, and in every word spoken by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and written by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So I stop there. Thank you for your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your wonderful answer. And I next wanted to go to the chat. We have a few questions lined up for you. Seems like this is a great topic tonight. So Sister Cynthia is asking, Assalamu alaikum, what connections did you see between Adam and Jesus?
So, and thank you for the question. This is a big subject. But you see, there's a parallel between the two men in the Holy Quran. Both men, Adam and Jesus, are mentioned 25 times equally in the Holy Quran. And just off the top of my head here, okay, in chapter 3, ayah 59, we have a reference to Jesus being like Adam. So here, this is a direct reference to Jesus and Adam. The 19th occurrence of the name Jesus and the name Adam occur both in Surah 19 of the Holy Quran. Okay. In chapter 1934 of the Holy Quran, we have the 19th occurrence of the name Isa, Jesus. It's the 19th time that his name actually occurs in the Holy Quran. Then in 1958, all these are key years here, if you notice. 1958, you have the 19th occurrence all of the name Adam, as well as the name Noah. Okay. Now, Adam and Jesus. The distance between, when you look at it, from chapter 3, verse 59, you have the first reference to Jesus and Adam, really the only reference to Jesus being like Adam. And that's very powerful, okay? And I want to go to something in my notes here to give you the exact distance.
Yes, sir.
But when you look at the distance between these two, that's from 359 to 1934. In general, they correspond with, yes, they correspond with the 1930s. So 359 is 1932 verses from 1934 there. So you have from the reference of Jesus being like Adam is exactly 1932 verses apart. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, I'll stop there, but there's a lot more to this. So when you look at it, like 359, that's the 7th mention of Jesus. Okay, there in 359. So then you have the 19th mention of Jesus in 1934. Well, 1934, by the year 1934, Master Father Muhammad had laid a foundation. He had taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad what he desired to teach him up until that point in person. And he departed from among the public, from our public view, in 1934. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is left to represent what he was taught and to work to build the Nation of Islam. So 1934 is a very key year. Now, mind you, when you study this, this is arranged. Allah is first mentioned in chapter 19 in 1930. The proper name Allah is first used in 1930. Also, when I say 1930, I'm saying chapter 19, verse 30 is when the proper name Allah is first used, and that's when Jesus begins to speak about himself. Jesus's words about himself, him speaking from the cradle, is recorded in chapter 1930 through 1933, and then the conversation concludes in 1934 with his name being mentioned the 19th time. You see, all of this is mathematically arranged. And this is exactly 1932 verses from chapter 3, verse 59. So it's showing you, why is it important to highlight Jesus and Adam? Well, Adam is Khalifa. Adam was the one that was raised to such a high position with Allah that the angels were ordered to bow down to Adam. You see? So Adam receives direct communication, direct guidance from Allah. Allah didn't go through anyone. He communicated directly with Adam, and he put everything, including the angels, under Adam. Well, what does it mean that Jesus, the Messiah, this is not talking about Jesus the prophet. The Holy Quran, the only named person referred to as being a sign in the Holy Quran, only prophet, is Jesus. All the prophets are signs, but there's emphasis on Jesus being a sign, because we're not talking about what occurred 2,000 years ago. We're talking about what would be fulfilled in the works of the Messiah at the end of the world. Well, when at the end of the world? Well, the years are mathematically coded here. When would this new Adam come on the scene? When would this new Khalifa be made by Allah in person? In the 1930s. See, with the commission, with the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, face to face by Allah, God, in person, in the person of Master Prophet Muhammad, the great Mahdi, God in person, teaching the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was being made into Allah's Khalifa. And the year and time frame when this would take place in the 1930s was given. Okay, so this should be studied. This is a big subject that should be studied, and I encourage everyone to let's study and let's see the connections between this prophecy and this divine arrangement with the Nation of Islam, with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and this also points directly to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And before we go to our closing comments, I wanted to ask a question from Brother Jamal. He wants to know, how important is time for us as believers in the Nation of Islam? You started speaking on the time, which was ironic to me because we were discussing the importance of it earlier. Then I come on and you were speaking in on it. And your best explanation, brother, how important is time for us?
God is time. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said in one radio broadcast, he said, time is the essence of all things. And like we mentioned earlier, he taught for 22 weeks straight, teaching us the theology of time. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said to us recently that, our being on time is really the greatest sign of the resurrection. So time is really is essential in the life of any believer in God. Knowing the time and being on time is essential. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it back over to our host, Brother Donald.
Praise be to Allah, Brother David. My God, man, whew. I tell you what, we had a lot more to ask you, but in the, as Brother Jamal made mention of time, for the sake of time, because we could have let you go on for another hour, and I don't know about anybody else, but I wouldn't have been mad about it at all. So we got to have you back. I have one question. I'm not going to ask it now because it would take us into another 30 minutes, I'm sure. But thank you over and over again, brother. This is phenomenal. Nobody, as they say on the street, you can't make this up. So this is fabulous, brother. Thank you so much, Brother Dave. You still there?
Yes, sir.
Praise Allah. Thank you, Black man. Did you have any closing comments?
I just want to thank you for inviting me back on. It's always a pleasure. It's my honor as a student, sharing what I've been blessed to learn, making it clear that, no student has a perfect knowledge. But I just encourage everyone to, if you're not a student in the classroom of God, become a student in God's classroom, become a student of the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as taught and represented by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because it's that teaching that is the key. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was revealed the secrets of the Bible and the Holy Quran. Now, some of what was revealed to him, we had to grow.
Yes, sir.
And it had to be time for us to learn certain things, everything in due time. And so we must continue to study because we've seen in our history that much has been hidden within prophecy. And if we fell asleep to prophecy, then it would have and has had devastating effects. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is a man that was hidden in prophecy. What I mean by that is many did not know who the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was in prophecy. And so now that we are studying we are able to analyze his history since 1977, and really before, when he first came into the Nation of Islam in 1955, we're able to study that history. The minister, there's a lot of history that has been put before us. Now we need to study it more in depth and look at the connection between his history and what is written. And we'll see that all of it was planned. All of it was already written in advance. So we can't fall asleep to prophecy because there is a test coming, and we have to act on the knowledge that we have been blessed to receive. And so we thank Allah for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. We need to do just what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us in the nation in 1972. On July 30th, 1972, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us, where you see him go, go. Where he says stay from, stay from. He will get us across successfully to the other side. All we have to do is keep our eyes on the prize, keep our eyes on the man of God that is being guided directly by Allah in the person of Master Father Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And, as it says in the Holy Quran, Surah 53, your companion errs not, nor does he deviate.
Come on.
It is not but revelation that is revealed. One mighty in power has taught him. And so we are blessed to learn and feed from that one mighty in power that is guiding the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And so let's stay in the classroom. Let's keep it tight.
That's right.
Let's
Well,
improve our studies, okay? So
that's
thank
right.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
And
thank you, thank you.
yeah,
for
this
having
won't
me
be
tonight.
this won't be your last time, Professor, in the classroom. Matter of fact, the next time you come back, inshallah, you could just rearrange what you gave us tonight. It will sound brand new.
Oh, praise be to Allah. Yes.
I gotta thank Brother West for a phenomenal job. He went solo tonight. Sister Janine wasn't here, and I just gave him the platform. He's growing into a mighty God. Of course, I've got to thank Sister Janine for always doing what she does. I've got to thank my wife, my best friend, Sister Cynthia Muhammad, for being behind the scenes. And of course, without the teachings of the life-giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad from God himself in person, we would not have the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan, nor will we have a need for or the existence of a WHID-FM or a Brother Donald. So with that, Brother David, thank you again. We'll be in touch. May Allah bless you and your family. And Brother West is going to take it from here. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Praise be to Allah, family. And before we go to our Muhammad's moment, we have a few announcements prepared for you. First, we want to let you know that you are invited to study with the Nation of Islam to learn of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You can register online at these websites today. For locations, free webcasts, and more, please go to tnpnoi.org. And if you want to go to an NOI study group, you can go to noi.org/go study. To join the Nation of Islam, if you are ready to make that commitment, you can go to www.noi.org/join. And for the Nation of Islam headquarters, you can call 773-324-6000. Next, we want to let you know about the mighty newspaper, the Final Call newspaper. Here we have our brother Ice Cube reading it. We've seen many other powerful people reading it as well. And I believe Brother West is even in the Final Call newspaper. So you can go ahead and get one of your copies by one of our brothers on the streets. Or if you want to listen to Final Call Radio 24/7, 365, you can go to finalcall.com and click the Listen Live button. This is a great, great platform to hear lectures from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as well as his music, and even the Sunday lecture live from our headquarters in Chicago. And next, we have a wonderful book by our host, Brother Donald Muhammad. I Never Knew I Am All That, Book 1. This is a great, great, wonderful book for your children, your young nephew, your cousins, or any children you know that could benefit from this information. Here we see Brother Donald's granddaughter, and I believe she very, very much enjoyed the book. And I enjoyed it as well, even though I'm a little bit older. I had great illustrations from our sister Amina Lay on the West Coast. So we thank you for listening to our announcements. And with that, I'll take us into our Muhammad's moment. Please stand by. All right.
Now I want to show you,
There we go.
beloved, by the help of God, where this Satan fella is tonight. Some Muslims who follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad got very angry with me. When I began to teach this, they thought I was going away from the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Because I don't want you to keep looking at the white man and seeing him as the only devil. That would be unjust to yourself as well as to them. The eye cannot see inward. Your eye sees me. My eye sees you. So now when you see me, you don't see you. And when I see you, I don't see me, because the eye is made to look out. What God wants is for you to look in. Because the easiest thing you can do is blame somebody else. Have you ever seen people who fail? See, if it wasn't for her, I'd have been a great preacher, but she out-preaches me, so I hate her. Have you ever seen people blame others when they don't achieve what they think they should achieve? Well, if it wasn't for my mother, wasn't for my father, that no good bum. See, he never brought any money home. That's what it was. Hey, you're a big grown hunk. 25, 30 years old, you blaming your mother and your father for your shortcomings? Don't you realize that you are now the master of your destiny? And if you as a grown person want to continue to blame the white man, blame your father, blame your mother, blame the educator. I had a bad teacher. I went to that dumb school over there. I was in reform school. I went to jail. I went to here. Every place you've been is school. And if you learn what you're supposed to learn, you come out of wherever you've been with a determination to become your own master. Do you hear me? Look now. We can run around blaming society. Well, society got me all messed up. That's why I'm using drugs. Is this white man, damnable world that cracker built, that no good peckerwood hunky. And you steam yourself all up. And what have you done? The white man is still ruling, and you still talking about him. And you can't see that if you don't get a grip on you, the white man will be in power tomorrow, the day after, and the day after.
All right, attention prayer. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Nirrahmanirrahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyak na'budu wa iyyak nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Surata al-ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayri maghdubi alayhim wala dallin. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. Phenomenal job, Brother West. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.